Hello everyone, welcome to another Rick's Picks. Today I'm going to be doing part 3 of my Robocop 2 model kit build. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over steps 10 through 17, and this is going to finish up the body. So once the body's finished, the next video will probably be me doing the arms. And if you want, before watching this video, you may want to check out the previous videos on this build, which will be on my Robocop playlist. So if you like any of these videos, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, share, and subscribe. They're small clicks for you, but really help this channel grow. So without any further ado, let's get to this build. Okay, I just completed steps 10 through 13. Alright, so what I ended up doing was adding on these rotators here. They're for the arms and his utility tools and what have you. So these are kind of cool. Alright. Now this is what I'm talking about being an artist. I added in this little red strip here just because I thought that would look really cool on each side. This here I painted in because it is raised, but if you're not into painting them, you do have stickers for it. So they did give you stickers for those. Try to keep that in focus. There we go. All right. Now they give you doubles. So if you mess up on one, at least you'll have an extra. So that's pretty cool that they do that. All right. Now these I didn't glue in, so they can spin a little because some, like I said, some of his weapons rotate. So I might wind up gluing them in. I'm not sure yet. I just want to see how, things progress later in the build, because there's a couple of things on this, like I explained in the other video, to where like you don't really want to glue it in until a certain point, or you may not want to glue it in at all, and they don't really specify what to glue and what not to. So let's spin it around to the back here. I added in these plates, this one here and this one, as part of his armor. And the funny thing is, as I looked this model over, I really realized that the character Cain was very clunky and oddly built. I mean, you have all this empty space back in here. His torso's hold together by 4 pistons. I was like, man. But he's still a cool character. And also added on this plate here and this piston. Now, when you add this piston in here, or I don't know what's that. I don't know if that's like a power pack or exactly. I'm not 100% sure what that is. But you got this cable that leads to it. Make sure this piece here is connected to this cable. All right, they don't really get specific with that in the directions. So make sure you hook this in here, because right here, let's get a better angle to it. Well, right in here is where it hooks in. There's a little hole, like a little peg that comes out. The hole hooks into there. But it doesn't specify that you're supposed to hook that up. So make sure you hook that up, otherwise it's going to look a little goofy. So that's those steps. And we're going to be on to the next set of steps. So overall, I think he's turning out pretty well. I'm kind of liking how he goes together and what have you. And I'm liking the overall look. Like I said, even on this side, I just added in these little red stripes just because I thought it would be cool. Give the character a little extra pop. And that's what I'm always talking about when I say that, model builders are artists, because you can always add in your own little details and what have you. So that is steps 10 through 13. Okay, so this is steps 14 through 16. Now the first part here is that you add these pieces on, okay? Now, I just gave them like a gray look. You're not going to see much of them anyway. But the one thing about these two pieces I will let you know is right in here. Let me get the light on there a little bit better. You get these little corner nooks. Okay. You got to make sure that the edge of this piece goes into that corner hook. Otherwise, it isn't going to sit right. Other than that, it's just 2 pegs in the bottom that just goes in the holes. The same with these 2 pieces here. I added them on. They're just 2 pegs that go in the hole. They line up pretty well. And then you got your cables here that you add on as well. Now, just like the rotators here, this here is optional paint. So you can either A, paint it on, or they have decals for that. So it's all a preference thing. I personally like to paint it on. I think it looks a little bit nicer, you know, blends in a little bit better. And that's just my personal view. And then the last part of this is you're putting on this upper body armor. I don't know if I'm going to give it a sheen. I don't know if I kind of like the way it just looks like this. And then this will just pop right on here. And the reason why I waited to put this on is obviously it covers up everything else. So far, I'm kind of enjoying this part. Now, the next part I'm going to be doing is probably going to be a bear, because I'm going to be adding on the hoses. So the hoses connect onto these little tits here, and then they go into these ones right here. So this might be a little bit more challenging, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. So that's steps 14, 15, and 16. So I wanted to quickly show you the diagram real quick of the hoses. So they're color-coded, and they're also numbered by letters. So it's A through F. There's 6 hoses. They show you which hose that they think you should put on first. And they also got a measuring bar there in inches. So they suggest that you make the hoses about 5 inches. I did use a translator to translate from Japanese to English. So the English is off just a little bit, but it's still, you know, legible. You can still read it. So when I put this together, I'm going to see if the way they suggest, you know, putting the hoses works, or if there's a better way. So with that being said, I'm going to try putting on these hoses. Okay, so let's talk about these hoses. I got the hoses on. Okay, so as you can see, they're all in place. All right. Now, they have a setup, okay? So I believe this, yes. So this front one is your A hose. This one is your B hose. And then in the back here is your C hose. All right. I would highly recommend putting in your C hose first. All right, because that's back here. That comes all the way up to right here. I don't know how well you could see that. Yeah, right there. So that's where your C goes. So I would definitely do that one first before you do A and B. All right, just because that'll make your life a lot easier than trying to. And that's the same with this side, because I believe this is D, E, and F, I believe. But F you want to put in first, okay? It's almost like they did it backwards to where, you know, it should be the back one, then the front two. Because this one, okay, let's move this here, connects here, and then all the way here in the back. So this one was probably the biggest bear to put on, just because of some of its odd angles. But these front two weren't so bad. You know, they all just hook up right up in here. All right. Now what I did was I took a small screw just to expand the hose a little bit. You know, I just this little screw. I just pushed it up there just a little bit with some of these hoses so they fit better. These back ones, like here, trying to get that angle right so you can see in there, like here and here, and definitely in here, you're probably going to want to use some sort of needle nose pliers or maybe tweezers or something, just to push those ones into place, because they're really that much harder. Now what I also did too was that I actually made the hose a hair longer. So if we put him back here, grab our directions. All right, so here's our directions. All right, so they recommend about 5 inches. If you can look here, you can see the scrapes where I cut the hoses to match. I went to the end of this white here, and I like that. I like how those hoses look. I think it gives it a really nice bend. So if you bring them back up here, you know, you can really see the bend angles. So yeah, I would definitely do it a hair longer than what they recommend, because you really get a nice bend to those hoses, you know, as you can see. And they just flow and they actually look very nice. So though that's pretty much how I worked the hoses and did it. It didn't take me too long. It wasn't as much of a pain in the rear as I thought it might be. But as you can see, they're on and they look nice. So right here we have the last part of the body. All right, let's give it a rotation. This is the lower half of his body. So this is where his legs and everything are going to connect. Now this piece came in 2 halves. All right. So because it was in 2 halves, I added in the 2 joints for the legs to hook onto. This was also added on. This is where the upper torso is going to sit in. And then you also add this piece here to where you can put a stand on it. They do have an optional stand that you can actually buy for it. They mention it in the directions. So I just put those pieces in and locked this together. So, you know, that's all for this piece. And what happens is, oops, come on, get in focus. Focus, there it goes. So this, there we go. So this here will connect into this. Just like that. So now you have the lower part of his body. So far, overall, I'm liking this build. I think this is looking really nice. I haven't had any major problems so far. The only thing I do have some issues with is the directions. Because sometimes it don't say don't glue. It just, you know, lets you kind of figure it out on your own. So that's this part of the build, which was his body. The next video will be me doing his arms. So I hope you all stay tuned for that. And just remember, if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And check out the previous builds for this figure in my Robocop playlist and the new one. So, until the next one, late.